The media spin is already happening on this movie. There's no doubt about that. Now, again, if you want to look at the domestic side, it's doing okay. It's doing better than I think we expected. It's not like setting any records or anything like that. But internationally, this movie is failing pretty badly right now, Ryan.
Yeah, internationally, and it's not like domestically it's in great shape either, and that's really the issue. From opening weekend, we could tell that The Little Mermaid was not exactly what so many people in the mainstream media pretended like it was going to be. It had a less than projected domestic opening 3-day and Memorial Day weekend, but internationally, it was rough. And that led to people in the mainstream media actually acknowledging that, you know what? This might have a hard time breaking even with the legs that it has or doesn't have, and the international numbers performing so badly. Little Mermaid could actually lose money for Disney. Now, we've been saying it for a while. The mainstream media finally caught up to that during this week because they had no choice other than acknowledge the reality. But what was it going to do second weekend? How was it going to hold? Was it going to have good legs? Was it going to do better internationally? Well, now we have an answer to that. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse did incredibly well at the box office, but buried in these headlines is how The Little Mermaid did. And here's our friend Eric Weber. Hashtag The Little Mermaid sinks 58% in its second weekend with $40 million, adds another $40 million overseas for $326 million worldwide cum. This film will end nowhere near where many expected it. Some had it at $1 billion. We'll be lucky to get to $500 million at this point. Major disappointment for Disney. Now, I think it will get to 500 million. I don't know if it'll get to 600. That's kind of where my guess is at this point in time. But certainly, when you look at the drop off it had, it needed to do really well domestically because internationally it's been performing so poorly. You can see a 58% drop. Now, that doesn't sound like crazy. That doesn't sound wild because we're used to a lot of these superhero movies that almost always have a 60% plus drop off at this point in time. But when you do compare it to something like Aladdin, and basically what it needed to do, this movie needed to do Aladdin domestic numbers and at least half of Aladdin international numbers to think about breaking even. Doesn't look like it's going to do that.
Nope.
That had a 53% drop, but you can see its second weekend was more than Little Mermaids. And it's just going to continue falling behind and behind and behind as we continue on based off its tracking. But those international numbers are really where the key is, because even though they're close domestically, look at this, Jeremy. I pulled up for you what we had the same exact time 4 fucking years ago. Second weekend, Aladdin. Globally, the Genie is at $446 million. So that's where this thing was. That's where Aladdin was after 2 weeks, 10 days, I guess, compared to The Little Mermaid, which is sitting at 326. Over $100 million difference. That gap's just going to continue to grow and grow and grow. Yep. And really, with all the different competition, it doesn't look like this movie is going to break even at this point. $250 million production budget, $140 million marketing budget, needs around $750 million at least to break even. And that would be a dream for them at this point.
Yeah, you get exactly what you deserve with this movie. And I do think that as much as the media loves to label America the most racist country on the planet, pretty interesting that it's the entire world outside of America that's widely rejecting this movie. So now it must mean that everybody else is the racist now. Everybody else is the racist. Or maybe just generally speaking, audiences are tired of identity politics and you race swapping and pushing agendas and things like that, because that's what this movie was. You look at the backlash that this film got before it ever released. 3.5 million downvotes. 3.5 million downvotes. More than Rings of Power, right, Ryan? Like, we had never seen downvotes we had never seen downvotes like this. And it came in a time when downvotes were not even publicly available to people without the extension. So people were just downvoting it just out of the fact that they were disgusted with it. This is why we continue to call all of this out, because we are seeing it. And the tide has turned, as I've said recently. Almost everybody just universally agrees that this is trash. We're tired of this. We're tired of you using people's race and their gender and their sexual orientation. If you look at the live action Disney movies outside of Mulan, which happened during COVID, but if you look at Lion King, you look at Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, and I know those 3 hit $1 billion. This movie is falling behind massively. And there's no excuse for that other than the fact that the fans were right once again, as the fans are always right. You can't argue that point, Disney. You can't do it.
You know, someone else who's right, who I believe should be owed an apology, is this man right here, Mina Masood. Aladdin star leaves Twitter
Mhm.
after sharing controversial Little Mermaid post. Remember when these fucking lunatics harassed this dude off Twitter because he dared say that I don't think it's going to make $1 billion? This is
Yep.
the quote. Our film was unique in that audiences went to watch it multiple times. The Aladdin star. It's the only way we reached the $1 billion mark with our opening. My guess is Little Mermaid doesn't cross the billion mark, but will undoubtedly get a sequel. So Mina Masood, we'll see if anyone reaches out to say, "Oh, sorry, Mina, for
Yep.
you were correct, and we fucking attacked you as a racist."
Yeah, this is the deranged leftist, man. Like, this guy 100% proven right, and yet all these people had to lose their minds over it. What a bunch of freaks, man. What a bunch of freaks. Hashtag Mina was right. Damn right he was.